If you need to stop, stop. If you want to redo what you said, go ahead, take a breath, and go after it. There's no wrong answers, and just have fun with it.
Okay.
Remember, you're going to be in front of 10 million people.
Right.
All right. We are rolling.
Happy birthday, America. Here we are celebrating the 250th anniversary of our founding document, the Declaration of Independence. And remember, that is what we celebrate on July the 4th, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That begins, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I was at an event a few weeks ago, and the question was asked it was at the Bradley Prizes ceremony, and 3 recipients of the Bradley Prize. And you can actually go online and see this roundtable discussion with these recipients, these distinguished recipients, an economist and former United States Senator Phil Gramm, and an historian and a rabbi, hosted by the questioner. The moderator was Kim Strassel from the Wall Street Journal. And she asked each of them, as we move into the celebration of the 250th anniversary of the founding of our country, what do you think the founders who wrote the Declaration of Independence, who fought the Revolutionary War, who created our Constitution and built our government, what do you think they would say if they came back today? And Senator Phil Gramm said, I think they would be shocked at how prosperous America is, how advanced. They could not have envisioned or imagined. But just think about that. America is the most prosperous country in the history of the world because of the structure of economic and governmental freedoms that our founders gave us. The rabbi said, I think they would be shocked. The founders would be shocked at how Americans revere the Declaration of Independence. And he told the story that earlier that day in Washington, D.C., he and his wife had gone to the National Archives just to go and see the Declaration of Independence. And when they arrived at the National Archives, the line was snaking down the street on a weekday in Washington, and school's not out. Weren't a lot of kids. It was families and people from all over the world there to see our sacred document, the Declaration of Independence. And the historian responded that he thought that the founders would be amazed that their ideas about freedom and self-governance had actually worked, because they weren't sure that it would work. They weren't sure because no country in the history of the world had ever tried that, had ever tried giving to the people the right to govern themselves. And one of my most revered clauses in the Declaration of Independence is where it says, where Thomas Jefferson wrote, governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. The consent of the governed. That's what we do in America, is we give as the governed, as the people, based on our constitutional framework, we give our consent and withdraw our consent through elections. And it is why our elections must be reclaimed from the radical left that has so manipulated the structure of our election systems all over the country, in state after state and at the federal level, so that we have voter rolls that are not that include tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dead people, duplicates, people who are not eligible, people who are non-citizens. We have election laws that are disregarded. We're awaiting a Supreme Court decision about whether election day still means election day and whether ballots must be received by the close of the polls in order to be counted, rather than having elections extend for weeks thereafter and manipulating the outcomes so that people are losing trust in our election system. We, as the beneficiaries of the structure that our founders put together in our Declaration of Independence, when they said governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, we must be able, as the governed, to give and withdraw our consent through elections that accurately and honestly reflect the will and the consent of the governed. And that is why I devote myself to election integrity. That is why it is so important that we have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of American citizen patriots working all the time on trying to restore integrity to our elections. And it is why it matters, so that we can fulfill that promise that Declaration of Independence gave to us that said, governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. And it is therefore essential that the government and those in power not be allowed to manipulate the election system so that they decide whether or not we are consenting to their continued governance of us. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, which is how our Constitution begins, we must retain our authority and our sovereignty over our elections and over those who make decisions on our behalf in this democratic republic. So as we are celebrating and approaching this 250th anniversary of the founding of our country through the Declaration of Independence, it is so important and vital that all of us take a moment to be so grateful for what our founders gave us. And we must carry that torch through our lifetime so that we can hand it to our children and our grandchildren, that we may continue to prosper and to have the freest, greatest, most exceptional country in the history of the world. I'm so grateful to be an American. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share these moments with you. God bless each and every one of you, and God bless our wonderful United States of America.
She can hear us. Yeah, that was the best one that anybody did. Better than all our big wheels.